For another edition of Meteorology Lab, and we've got an eclipse thing coming up later this evening. That's going to be pre-recorded, but I'm going to be uploading that. It's going to be a 45-minute production. A little bit more of this stratocumulus rolling in from the north. Very strong cold front coming south through the Great Plains and making its way down here into Texas. And I was just looking through the WMO Cloud Atlas, and you can get this off one of the WMO document sites, and there it is right there. It's a very neat book, and these used to cost about $150 back when they printed these, but of course now you can get PDFs, and I was trying to figure out where this cloud was that we were looking at. Yeah, it looks a little bit like that, doesn't it? And you can see that it's cumulus and stratocumulus with bases at a different level. So, probably a little bit of spreading of cumulus and an unstable air mass beneath an inversion. That's kind of what we have going on, and you can kind of see the cloud types right there. I think this is actually what we have is categorized as cloud code 4, I think. Because, yeah, this is explicitly from the spreading of cumulus. And, of course, you can basically take these code these code symbols, CL4, and you can look up the corresponding symbol here. So CL4 would be that right there. So that's what you would end up plotting on a weather chart. It's really too bad that the ASOS sites don't report cloud type. That's one of those things that we've lost with automation. So here's the look at the weather across Texas. Station plot showing some very dry air coming down. Well, not very dry. I see a few mid-60s in there. But definite north wind. And I think the leading edge of that is just way off to the south. Pretty much got a northerly component all the way down to Laredo, Corpus Christi, and all the way down to Monterrey, Mexico. 97 there. And we've definitely got some colder air up in the Panhandle. I think I saw a 60 there. Yeah, some very cool air. And here's the other side of the front where it extends up into Arizona. And we've kind of lost a little bit of that easterly component, but I remember yesterday when we were looking at the leading edge, it was somewhere in the mountains right there. And definitely some thunderstorm activity in that region. Other than that, a little thunderstorm activity up there in Minnesota and Wisconsin and down there in Florida. And Florida has been getting quite a bit of rain. They've had Emily come through, which is a tropical storm, gusting to 35, pretty much moving northeast. And Here's the rainfall that we've observed from the radars over Florida. This is in the past 30 days. Let me see if I can bring up the county overlays, or the state overlays. Yeah, there they come. So, in this purple area, we're seeing 10 to 15 inches just in the month of July here. Some incredible rain, and even over towards Miami, looks like a lot of 6 to 10 inch amounts. And lots of rainfall all down the Gulf Coast. And in Texas, there has been rainfall, but how do you tell whether it's been above normal or below normal? Well, fortunately, they have a product in here. Let me shrink this window. I'm having a problem here with this. Okay. There's a product in here called percent of normal. So you can see if the precip is going above, or has been above or below normal. So basically your green and blue shades are above normal and your red shades are below. So San Antonio, Corpus Christi having problems there. A little bit of drought west of Fort Worth, but parts of East Texas and Northeast Texas are doing pretty well, and also West Texas, where they've had a drought going on for some time. Florida, it looks like their amounts are actually, as a whole, probably close to normal, but some very patchy high amounts there. As we go north, we get a little bit of drought condition right there in North Carolina. Northeast is looking pretty dry, and that's due to that northwesterly flow. It's been very persistent, and it's very hard to generate precip when you keep bringing dry air southward. Similar story up in the northern plains. Cool. Northwesterly flow has been bringing down dry air, and that's been alternating with downslope air, which is even drier. And that looks pretty bad there in Washington, reporting 5% of the monthly precip. So I can kind of see how this extends into British Columbia there, where they've been battling that fire there north of Vancouver. And I don't know about California. I guess that means they haven't gotten any precip, but good to see Arizona is doing okay. Okay. Haven't looked at that at all, so that was kind of interesting. But there's Florida, a few thunderstorms going on there. And this is the College of DuPage site, and we can pull up the precip totals, at least I think we can. Nope, it's not working well with Firefox, so we'll have to abort that plan. But anyway, I think they are under a northeasterly flow or an easterly flow. So a lot of these storms will be pushing westward tonight and dying off with the loss of diurnal heating. I guess I'm going to jump right into the 250 millibar chart. We've been looking at a big high across Texas out in this area, and that's given way to a jet stream. That's kind of a new feature there. You remember how we had that high right there over Abilene and Childress? So that has been replaced. So the upper level high kind of backing off to the southwest, and that's partly due to the arrival of some cooler air, and that's pushing the gradients further to the south. Some of that jet stream energy is there in Florida too, and we've got a split flow pattern here. And then a quick look down at 850 millibars. You can see a little bit of that, a new front coming down south. And then the old one way down here near the Gulf Coast. There's our potential temperature analysis. It's distorted a little bit by thunderstorm areas of showers. There's one right there over Oklahoma, bit of a meso-high. Looks like maybe another meso-high right there. And then I guess the southern front is running something like that. So probably stalled out right there in the Mogollon Rim down to El Paso. Okay, I don't have any satellite loaded up, so I'd imagine it's going to look pretty similar to yesterday. But maybe I'll bring up the polar orbiter data. And we'll take a quick look and see what's going on in the Atlantic. And just to save time, I'm going to probably forego pulling up the dust product. But I remember there was a pretty good plume coming off of Senegal, right in that area. Looks like maybe just a couple of weak waves, so they're pretty quiet. And there's Emily, pretty much southeast of Georgia. And a couple of weak disturbances there in the Gulf. And there we are in the Central Plains there. And here comes the next front coming out of Alberta. And just a quick look up north, see what's going on. Yeah, there's those fires there in British Columbia. Let me give you the state lines. Here come the provinces, and yeah, looks like a lot of fires. Looks like southwest of maybe Fort Nelson. Those are some pretty large fires. It looks like a lot of smoke up there in Northwest Territories. And Alaska, pretty cloudy there. Okay. So quick look at the fronts. Pretty much as expected, southerly front all the way down in the Gulf, and here comes the next outbreak on its way south, being driven by this large high pressure area up at the top. Okay, let's see here. Let me take a quick look at chat. I have actually been up about probably, I'm guessing, 36 hours. I had a couple of deadlines here, and I'm really going from one project to the next, and so I'm probably going to have to keep this webcast a little bit on the short side, maybe like 20 to 30 minutes here. But we can definitely look through the chat. Got Carl Berghoff here. Got a payment off to me. I appreciate that very much. I can already see that the symmetric DSL is in sight. Ryan Toomey's saying hello. And he's mentioning parts of South Florida there starting to float away. Cars floating on the streets in South Miami Beach. Putting this where I can read it a little bit better. Remains of Emily coming across Florida right there. Water flowing into first floor units. Cars flooding to the ceilings. That's pretty serious there. 6 inches at the office where Ryan is. We had a little area of thunderstorms come through the DFW area. Well, not thunderstorms, they were elevated showers. And I think that's what he's referring to. Maybe I can bring that up on that College DuPage site. Oh, looks like I've lost the link already. College DuPage, there it is. Yeah, let's go over to Fort Worth and take a look. Large area of overcast and showers, and there it is. And there's probably a lot of virga in there, so these are elevated showers. They're falling into a dry, low-level air mass, and that means that they're going to generate kind of a large cold pool. So I think that little meso-high that we saw up there in Oklahoma on that other chart, that's starting to spread down into Texas. So probably kind of a cool night tonight. No rain in the Metroplex. These showers are capable of putting out some wind, though, but with the loss of diurnal heating, that threat should be gone pretty shortly. We've got Burl H. and Fun with Tech and Sue M. looking for rain, Kevin McKinney, Chris Lasakis, and Mick, and Mike Estwick, 91 degrees in Denver. Wow, it's some warm air up there for sure. Feeling like the start of a drought there in Australia. Eddie W. saying hello, and Ryan mentioning another line rolling in. Ron Chalfont got, I think he said he got good thunderstorms and showers. No rain for the last month or so where Mick is. Jeremy Albritton, I think that's a new name there. If it is, welcome to the channel. Looks like wet there in northern Louisiana. Mike Estwick asking about severe thunderstorm forecasting. That was at Dias and Yongsan. The advisories only took about like 3 or 4 minutes to put out. Usually we had them typed up when we were expecting to put out something like that. So we had a lot of those products ready to go. Get some sleep from Mark Davis. Thanks. Yeah, I'm going to be getting in bed here pretty early. Ancient Astronaut mentions 92 in Canyon Lake. Ron says, don't forget to click the like button. Yeah, thank you very much. And David Morris says, yes, Tim, very cool outside. Still no rain. And let me see what those temperatures are there in the DFW area. We're sitting at 86 here, but at DFW, they have managed to cool down to about 79. And up there in the Red River, looks like we have a few 72s around Atoka and Durant. And it would probably be a little bit cooler if we had even more dry air coming south. That tends to be a process in the wintertime that really chills the air mass. When you have upper level disturbance working eastward across Mexico and into Texas and rides on top of a big cold air mass that's driving southwestward, that wet bulbing process can be quite significant. So you can pretty much change the temperature of an air mass here from, say, 36 down to 21 or 22. And you'll see rain changing over to snow when that happens. Okay, let's see here. One thing I wanted to show you was the SKU-T. This is the current SKU-T, actually taken about an hour ago there at Fort Worth, and you can kind of see the elevated moisture. And the base of that moisture looks like at about 8,000 feet, so it's definitely up there. And there's the dry air. So kind of a high, or actually a low relative humidity, and a low dew point due to this being far over to the left. But the winds aloft, yeah, they're picking up there at 200 millibars. And one thing I wanted to show you that's kind of new, I took the 12Z SKU-T from Fort Worth and I superimposed it on the 0Z SKU-T. So the blue that you see here is from 7 in the morning, and the black line is from about an hour ago. So by doing that, you can really see the changes. And there are a few websites that'll let you pair up SKU-Ts like this, and I think maybe University of Wyoming may do that. And there are programs like Rayop that have this capability. However, I did this in Paint Shop Pro, so it only takes like a minute. And you can definitely see the change in the winds. The blue here, 20 to 30 knots, increasing to 40 to 50. So that's a big change there. And also, A little bit more dry air coming down, especially there at 850 millibars. And the other change that stands out is getting rid of this little layer of warm air at about 15 to 20,000 feet. Other than that, not too much different in the upper levels. But this is kind of a good technique on severe weather days. You can do this with SKUTs from like 0Z to 12Z and watch those changes take place. And when they release like a special sounding like Oklahoma City or Dallas, Fort Worth, you can compare the 12Z to the 18Z and get some really important information that way. Yeah, there's the waves coming down from Canada. This is kind of an animation over the next 72 hours. And there comes a good wave there, heading for Chicago, Detroit, and the Great Lakes in just a few days. Okay, we'll go ahead and head into the forecast. That way I can get that other video uploaded. And that's going to take probably about probably 2 hours on this connection here. So there's the elevated area of showers coming southward, and over the next 6 hours, you can see they were starting to die off a little bit, but it looks like they're starting to pick up back up here at about 6 to 7 in the morning. So we're either getting a little bit of upper level support or possibly some increased inflow into these storms, and it could be a little bit of both here. It looks like we kind of form up a little bit of an MCS from Shreveport to Dallas tomorrow morning. So it should be cloudy for a lot of I-35 eastward in Texas. And elsewhere around the country, you can see Florida pretty much shutting down right there. A new MCS coming down along that front in North Dakota. And we pretty much see an MCS come through over the next day. This is tomorrow evening when we do the webcast. So kind of a more potent MCS from Yankton down to, I guess, about North Platte. And this would be here probably more of the stratiform type cloud material. Looks like not too many more showers in Florida. A little bit of a relief, a little bit of a break there. And then tomorrow night, MCS moving eastward through Minnesota. It doesn't look very organized there. And you can pretty much see that front coming southward into Oklahoma City and St. Louis on Thursday night. Okay, so let's see here. We'll head into the forecast. Okay, there's the current chart. So overnight, GFS kind of going with that MCS developing in Texas. You can see the new front coming down from North Dakota, driven by this very strong high pressure area. Very strong pressure gradients in this band right here, and very strong cold air advection. Most of the advection concentrated in this area, but here we have the pressure gradients in northern Idaho. So there's the cold front and there's the warm front. So that's coming south, kind of like an Alberta clipper. And then by tomorrow night when we do the webcast, that's going to be pretty much right there in South Dakota and Nebraska. A little bit showery here in Texas still. And then for Thursday night, system continues moving southeastward. Doesn't look like it's moving very fast. Slowly but steadily going southeast. And now it's over the Lake Michigan area down to Illinois, coming down into Oklahoma City. And then when we do the webcast on Friday evening, looks like it's just starting to get to the Red River. And looks like a new system coming together right there in Alberta. So there you go. It's kind of a train, one after the other of these systems as they move south and eastward. Looks like the monsoon is kind of shut down a little bit. Then over the weekend, let's see, Saturday, next system looks like it's probably moving into Nebraska there. Looks like some very good upslope flow here in Kansas. A lot of precip starting to develop right there. That's kind of a cold season pattern. And this looks like that other front coming into the Red River, into Shreveport, Atlanta, and the Carolinas. Then let's see, we get into Monday. There's the new frontal system coming down, a lot of rain with that, and that's being driven by this high coming into the Great Plains. So we should definitely get some relief from the humidity and have some very comfortable nights. And I was out last night, and it felt a whole lot different out there. And then we start getting to the end, and just a general look. It looks like this progressive pattern is continuing. There's thunderstorms right there in Oklahoma on the 11th. And at this point, it looks like the pattern does start changing towards the 16th and 17th. We're starting to see a lot of troughing in Western Canada. See this very strong lee side trough here? Let me back that up and let's see how that takes hold. See, at this point here, we've got high pressure covering this entire North Plains area. This is on the 11th. And the change appears to take place on the 13th. So that's going to get things back to a little bit more of a seasonal pattern. Seasonable pattern. And then we get to the end of the run, but yeah, it looks like a lot of low pressure up in Western Canada. So that should put an end to some of those cold air outbreaks, and we should see a little bit of a warm-up. And this is 4 days before the eclipse, so this gives us kind of an idea what might be coming. And if we're shutting down the polar outbreaks, then that's probably good news for this area here. That should keep things in kind of a, I would say probably a drier, more stagnant pattern. But we shall see. Things could always change between now and then. This is 384 hours out, so that's just in the crystal ball for now. Okay, well, let's see. One last look at the chat, and then I got to start thinking about getting some sleep here. That is quite an accomplishment, going through all these charts on 36 hours of being awake. But I'm actually pretty used to that. David Moore saying pretty neat to see the comparing of the SKUTs. Yeah, we'll probably try to do that more here. Good thing for severe forecasting, better than modifying the sounding with a parcel lift. From Mike Estwick there. Ryan says Florida is clearing by tomorrow, thank goodness. David Holcomb says it sure is hot around here, New Braunfels. That's where the Austin San Antonio Weather Service office is. David Holcomb says, I love this stream, I appreciate it. Michael O says, came here late, did I miss anything? Maybe a little bit, but you can catch the replay here. Looks like most of us in the southeast and mid-south are going to miss any long-term heat waves this summer. Yeah, it's kind of looking that way, but with the pattern shift here around mid-month, we could see possibly some of the heat coming back later in August. And we definitely do get heat later in the summer. I remember a brutal heat wave in 2000, September 4th. September 3rd or 4th, that affected Texas and the south here, and I think Houston hit, I want to say 108. Let's see here. David Moore says, I agree. Good way to show how the air mass is changing. Appreciate the webcast. Get some rest. And Mike Estwick is telling me to go to bed. So let's do that. We'll go ahead and check out and bring my sound down. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up, and I appreciate you all watching the webcast. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a good evening.